Hey guys, welcome to another Journey to 30. I'm here today with I lost my train. I thought I was doing something. With the usual crowd, myself and Snaggle. Also with me today are Days Untold.
I am here too.
And Oddlawngnome. Hey guys, welcome to another Journey to 30.
Shoot. You just rushed through those introductions, man.
I'm sorry. There's a lot I gotta do when I start this thing up. You don't even know. You don't even know. Yeah, as I said though, we're joined today with Days Untold.
Hey guys.
And Oddlawngnome.
Hey guys.
Both support mains, and yeah, so I said support mains, but that's what we're talking about today. We're gonna go ahead and talk about support.
I just, real quick, want to make the point that despite Trinity Force promising to get Days on for like months now, we got her on first, so I think that makes us a better show.
Yeah, definitely.
I'm just saying.
You're completely right.
Adam's gonna kill me.
Well,
I got all my gear in and everything.
Oh, wow. I'm actually pulling on Adam next week for top lane talk. So, super excited about that.
Is he just going to yell at us the whole time?
Yeah, I mean, we're going to yell at people today, too. But, okay, so real quick, let's go ahead and talk about what we talked about last week. For those of you that were with us, we talked about trading.
Yep.
And in particular, difference between trading, poking, and all-ins. So you're always welcome to feel free to go back and rewatch that over at Trinity Force Podcast, the YouTube channel. We got all of them up there. Also, here on the T-Force Podcast Twitch channel, they're also there. So yeah, feel free to go look at those. And this week's champ rotation, for you new players out there, you're looking at Elise, Janna, Katarina, Lucian, Malphite, Misfortune, Orianna, Rise, Sejuani, Sona. Looks like our champ rotation for this week. So,
yes.
Two people we're actually going to be talking about today, Janna and Sona. So who do we want to recommend for new players playing right now with those 10 champs?
If you're looking to get better at the marksman role, Misfortune's a good pick. Lucian, you probably want to stay away from him. He's pretty tricky to play.
Yeah, with the new changes to him. Also, he just got nerfed kind of into the ground, so I'm not too fond of where Lucian is at right now. But yeah, I definitely agree. I think Misfortune is a good pick. I think Rise is pretty straightforward and simple. He has a combo, but I mean, he's still pretty straightforward.
Yeah, it's a pretty easy combo to figure out.
Yeah, and Malphite too. I like where Malphite is as well. Sorry, 1 second. Okay, so that's that for champ rotation. So, like I said, we're talking about support. We're talking about support this week, and we went over a lot of stuff already, and we've covered a lot of ground. So we decided to jump right into roles because I've gotten a lot of requests about talking about specific lanes and specific roles, and I decided to start with support simply because I feel like it's one of the most important and overlooked roles by far on a team, which is why I went guns a-blazing all out in this week and making sure we had our bases covered with people that know what they're talking about when it comes to the support role. So first and foremost, Dace, how about you tell us what exactly a support is?
A support is really the playmaker in the team, which a lot of people don't realize. Like you mentioned, it's definitely, especially in lower elos, it's a very, very undervalued role, and nobody wants to do it. But really, your responsibility is not just, it's seen as like a babysitting role for the rest of the team, and to an extent it is. But at the same time, you really fall into like a shot calling role of the team. Most of your supports that you'll be playing have large CC, which makes them great initiators. You are warding, so you have you control the map vision of the map. You control the objectives. You make a lot of plays, and you have the most time in what you're doing between all of your skills. You don't have a lot of necessarily mechanic-based things to do, so you have a lot of time to communicate with your team, to set up plays, to make calls for objectives, and you have a lot of opportunity to kind of influence your team's morale in general.
Yeah, definitely. So, I mean, support in and of itself, the definition of a support is somebody that is, the the person that gives everybody the help that they feel like they need. That's not to say that you're completely dependent on said person, but it's still a really important role. For those of you that played WoW back in the day, you know the value of healers and being nice to your healers. And that's one thing I want to say outright is when you have somebody that's supporting and willing to support, I gotta say, you gotta be nice to that person. Because they're going out of their way to play a role that is undervalued, underappreciated, and just generally, I wouldn't say frowned upon, but not really given the credit that they're due. So be nice to those guys, because they definitely deserve it.
Yeah, if you're a marksman and you die, don't yell at your support, because 95% of the time it was your fault.
Yeah. So what do you think dictates a champion as a support? Adam, you play a pretty good number of supports. What do you think is the most important kind of like value that a support holds that you feel, every support, a good support needs?
Well, I mean, to a degree, you need to be at least somewhat tanky or have the ability to heal off damage that you get. It's generally wise to build more defensive items, especially if you're new to playing support. As far as other options, it's generally nice to have some sort of initiate, like, Leona's E or Blitzcrank's hook or Thresh's hook or what have you, or some way to help your team out in a fight instead of just going out for yourself to get kills and assists.
Right, so a lot of people would say, what about damage dealing supports? What's the value of being able to poke someone down? While that is good and definitely somewhat recommended, and supports have that ability, you also have to understand that crowd control is probably one of the best things that a support can have, because we talked about peel, and supports that can peel, very, very amazing. Leona, Thresh, Braum, all very good support peelers. So, yeah, champions that are good as supports, they usually say as support, but if you're looking to, try something new, like, I really want to try Lysandra as a support, it could work, but you just need to understand that most supports succeed simply because they have multiple ways of protecting their carry. And we're going to get into what the primary goals of a support are, and this is kind of what really dictates a champion as being able to support. And that's what Days put in for us, setting up kills for the AD carry, learning how to zone, learning lane momentum.
Before we touch on that, can I just touch on what dictates a champion as a support?
Yeah, absolutely, yeah.
I answer a lot of the Trinity Force podcast questions that get sent in, and there's a lot of why can't I play such and such as a support. There are like three main types of support champions. You have the tanky all-in champions, which are Leona, Taric, Alistar. You have the sustain champs, which are Sona, Soraka, and then you have a lot of your CC damage poke. And usually they're mages, like you have your Annie, you have your
Morgana.
Morgana, you have your Zyra, and they kind of have to fit in one of those things. And a lot of times they go over the boundaries. So like your Sona will also kind of fit into your sustain, but also your poke and damage category. And then someone like Annie fits your all in and your poke and damage. So they fit in. But with the melee tanks, I get a lot of questions on why can't such and such work, why doesn't Maokai work as a support, things like that. And they can if you play them right, but you have certain disadvantages. The things that you want to look for, especially in a melee support, is if you look at all of the meta melee champions, they all have a gap closer so that they can get into range to use their skills without being poked down. If you don't have a gap closer, you're going to walk up and you're going to just die. Like, you're just going to get poked down because the other team has two people to focus you. And then you have to have most of them have some sort of natural bonus armor or damage reduction that goes along with that. So those are really the things you want to look at if you're going in to try to play a melee as a support.
Yeah, good, definitely good points there.
I guess another point on that subject of what champions work is another thing you'd want to look at is what their mana costs are like. I remember on one of the recent, or it might not be that recent, but anyway, on a recent Trinity Force, they were discussing whether Anivia would work as a support because she's got some decent CC abilities, but for example, like her mana costs are so high that you can only get a few abilities out, and then you're out of mana. So that's another one of those things you want to look at. If you can't use your abilities, you're kind of hamstringing yourself to support your ADC. So it's something to think about.
Right. The most important thing really is that, which we kind of glazed over, but you want to be able to do your job as a support even if you get no items. Like if all you have is the Sightstone and boots, you want to be able to be just as effective in fulfilling your role on the team, because there's no guarantee that you're going to get assists. You definitely don't get any CS. There's really nothing to fall back on except for your GP10. So you just have to be able to fulfill your role in the team without getting any items.
Yeah, GP10, for those of you who are unaware, that's gold per 10. It's a measurement of how much, it's a statistic technically. It's how much you how much you get as gold for every 10 seconds. It used to be a lot more predominant back in the old days. Heart of Gold!
Rip.
RIP, Heart of Gold to 2012?
12.
Oh, good times. But yeah, that's GP10. So, I personally think that supports have one of the toughest jobs. Easily one of the toughest jobs. I hear Dom complaining about it. Not complaining, talking about it all the time. No one's backing me up on my warding. No one's following me to objectives. No one's listening to my pings. All that different stuff. So you have, when you're beginning to select your roles and you're beginning to look at what you feel you should play, first and foremost, I want you guys to always look at your personality and where you feel you're drawn to. I was a healer in World of Warcraft, and I was instantly drawn to support when I started playing. I quickly realized that mechanically I'm gifted, and AD carry ended up being one of my better roles simply because I was able to react fast enough, and it just became my skill. But that's to say, I found the most success in the support role. Unfortunately, it's not my favorite role, but I have found the most success because it matches my personality in the support-like role. So before we really delve into what supports are fundamentally best at, I want you guys to know that support may not be for everybody, and that's okay. That is legitimately okay. But you have to understand how a support works, and knowing how a role works will help you be better at the game overall.
Yeah, if you're a big team player, you may love support. If you're one of those people who plays, a shooter or something, and you're Mr. Lone Wolf just charging ahead, well, only looking at your kill count, you are probably not. Support is probably not for you.
So, and like I said, that's okay, but you should still understand how mechanically a support works. Alright, so let's get right into primary goals for supports. So, looking at the doc, we have a few setup kills for the AD carry. That's pretty straightforward, like land the bubble from Nami. You land the hook from Blitz, jump on the AD carry with Leona or E, land the binding with Morgana. It can be really difficult to understand when you should go in, but if it's safe, it's usually good to land some poke down. Any comments on that one in particular?
Yeah, absolutely. Support is well regarded as being 60% of the bot lane. If you look at an ADC's damage early, it's actually pretty insignificant, and they're really squishy. So as a support, your job is to control that lane. So you can poke them down, you can get in a position to make the kill, you can use some CC for your on the opposing ADC. But your job is really to control that lane. And how well your ADC does in lane directly reflects on how you did as a support. Even if you have an ADC who's not necessarily fulfilling what you want them to or following up the way they should, if you control the lane, they should still be able to farm fairly easily without getting harassed too much if you're controlling the lane really well.
And that's where we get into zoning and gaining the CS advantage with lane control and all that good stuff. Being able to keep your AD carry safe, even if they can't follow up to secure kills, they're still able to farm.
Yeah, and also for really new players, we should mention, I don't think we have yet, don't CS if you're support. You don't want to CS because that's going to your ADC, and you don't want to get kills. Sometimes you just will. You can't avoid that sometimes, or sometimes your ADC is too far back and you're the only one who can get the kill, and that's fine. But for the most part, you want to feed your marksman. So, You want all the gold going to him, and you want as much experience as possible going to him or her.
Yeah, and unless you're intending to push the lane, as in push it to the tower, don't just let yourself auto-attack. You know, you press that S button. You make sure you're constantly moving and not able to drop down any auto attacks to prevent your AD carry from getting any sort of CS. And if you're having a problem with just auto attacking, put yourself in a position where you can't have yourself auto attacking. Make sure you're zoning. Put yourself near river or something like that. Just make it so that he's able to farm.
Yeah, or continually moving. You don't want to get too predictable with it, but if you're constantly on the move, you won't be auto attacking, and it makes you harder to hit.
And then lane momentum. Jen, you specifically put this one in.
Yeah.
And I am a little curious about it.
Okay, I'm about to disagree directly with what you just said.
Oh.
Lane momentum is really important, and lane momentum is, if you want to simplify it, it's how many minions you have in the lane compared to your opponent. And the reason that it makes it really important is because in a 2v2 lane, and it's really important in every lane, but especially in bot lane, there you have twice as many people to worry about. So hitting level 2 is twice as important because you have twice the amount of skills that they do, and you get your natural buffs from all of your HP, all of your mana, everything, just your resistances just naturally increases as you level. So when you get to lane, you kind of want to gauge the ADC you're with. You want to hit the minions a couple times. If he's not helping you push the lane, and I would recommend when you get in lane just mentioning to him that, hey, we're going to push, and at level 2 we're going to go aggressive. If he doesn't do that, then what you want to do is you just want to attack the backline minions, the caster minions, each one time. And what that does is if they push it to tower, which you want to avoid, but if you do get stuck under tower, it will allow him to easily farm those back 3 minions without you having to worry about it, because they need to hit, in order for the ADC to farm under tower, he has to hit the caster minion, let the tower hit it, and then he has to hit it. If you do it once for him, then it makes it easy. But the thing about lane momentum is that when you go to trade, which is going to happen, the person with the most amount of minions is generally going to win that trade, especially in lower elos where they're not really watching their positioning. Usually they're standing in the middle of the melee creeps. So if you have that significant advantage, and this is why when you watch high-level players, they always go into lane and shove the lane. So if you have the advantage in CS, or the minion advantage, you're going to have like almost an extra teammate on your team in your lane helping you. And then you want to hit those big jumps quickly. You want to hit level 2 quickly, and you want to hit level 6 quickly. And this will allow you to be very aggressive in your lane and kind of set up that dominance. Once you do that, that's a big psychological thing. Like if you can establish that dominance, I think you guys talked about it last week in your trading video, but if you can psychologically set up that dominance in your lane, it's going to put them off balance, and it's going to make it harder for them to CS. They're going to be afraid to trade back with you. And it also, people in low elo, they're very, very bad at CSing under tower. If you can shove them under tower, they're not going to get any of their CS as opposed to your person. And then they're going to be so focused on getting those CS that they're not going to trade with you. So while they're CSing, you can just take free shots at them, and they'll just take free damage. And especially at lower levels, when you're leveling up, or lower elos, they're really not going to know how to control that.
Definitely, I agree. I actually agree with all of that. But always remember, when you push a lane, don't forget to ward.
Definitely ward. Definitely ward, especially early. You want to communicate with your ADC for him to use his trinket also. And then communicate with your ADC that you're going to be hitting those minions, because especially when you're leveling up or low elo, people aren't used to the support helping them, and they might get irritated with it if you don't communicate. Sometimes they'll just tell you, no, I don't want you to, and then the best thing is just not to. You don't want to irritate anybody. But it is a skill that you want to know, because as you gain elo, I started out in bronze 4. I'm now plat, and I did that all through support, so I know the harassment you go through as you move up. But you are more valued, and people understand lane momentum a lot more. So as you move up, that skill is going to be more and more necessary for you to understand and to exhibit it.
All very, very good points. Adam, you have anything to toss in there?
No, I was just going to bring up when you said about if you're pushing, please make sure that you ward. Otherwise, you're basically just inviting the enemy jungler down to come and beat you into a pole.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Also, as a general rule, support is also a really good position to work on map awareness in general. You can learn when, like if the jungler's up top, then you know that you're safe to push, and if they've not been seen for a while or something like that, then be a little more cautious. But it's also a good point to make sure to check your mini-map often. In a lot of cases, actually, I find myself looking at the mini-map at least like 50% of the time that my eyes are on the screen, like while my ADC is pushing, just to make sure that there's nobody else that's coming, or to know, when it would be safe to push, or where our jungler is if he wants to come down and gank.
Yeah.
Because it is tricky and rather dangerous if you're new to support and then you're just immediately like hammering down the lane. And in some places, especially depending on their team comp and yours, it can be advantageous to let them push, again, not too far into your tower, but just enough to the point where they either have to spend their time warding, or your jungler can come down and get kills on them as well.
Yeah, it definitely goes both ways, and you take both into consideration when you're deciding what to do, and that's kind of why support is really tricky, and why we generally consider it tough, because you make a lot of decisions, not only for your team, but just in your head. You have to decide what you feel is best for your team and what you feel is best for your AD carry, because you are that AD carry's dad. You're that AD carry's your mom, whatever. You're protecting that guy from every single amount of harm that can come to him, and sometimes that's being aggressive, and other times that is being defensive. If you think you might be beat, call for help and let them try and push to you, so that you can get some ganks down.
And
that's important.
And on that point, do one of our experts want to let us know what you should do if you do get ganked? Like if you are pushed a little bit up to the enemy tower and a jungler comes charging out, your first instinct might be to just boot it for your own tower. But what's the best option there?
With that, you obviously want to try and keep your ADC alive as long as you can. So, instead of you just running and leaving him to die, it's unlikely that you're going to get a kill out of it, but you can at least try and mitigate the damage by, using some of your CC or your heal or whatever sustaining abilities you have to try and cover for your ADC. So, try and absorb the skill shots and that kind of thing, if there's any coming towards you. But yeah, your focus wants to be on the ADC to make sure that they don't die instead of just saving yourself.
Yeah, some of the best advice that I've gotten when I was going through my journey to get better at the game and better at support was that you never want to both be running away at the same time, because that just means getting free damage on you. So if you get ganked, then you want to get out of the way of any skill shots, make sure you're dodging them, but you want to attack the ADC or whoever. If the jungler is the closest, attack the jungler, because a lot of times if you put enough damage on them, they'll back off, especially if they're not prepared for that damage. Then they'll kind of get shocked by it and they'll walk away. I've turned around a lot of ganks, I'm sure everyone here has, by just putting an unexpected amount of damage on the people coming in.
Yeah. But so mathematically, just because I like getting a little analytical when it comes to it. Who would you say is better to die, yourself or the AD carry?
Always yourself.
Always yourself, guys. Always yourself. So when you support, you need to know if someone has to die, you damn sure make sure it's yourself.
Especially later as well. Like if you get into a bad engage or you get engaged on or something like that, and your team's just not ready for it, you can trade yourself as opposed to 2 or 3 other squishier people on your team dying. So. Okay. If you go, then, whatever, but it could have been a lot worse if you hadn't stayed behind to try and let the other people escape.
Mm-hmm.
Don't underestimate the power of body blocking either, because you can stand... I know everybody's had those issues where the minion, you just can't get around the minion. Well, that's kind of what happens. If you're ganking and you're standing in front of that person and they can't get around you, it saves a lot of ADCs by doing that. So just be cognizant of that too. Yeah,
especially ADK, or especially junglers that require, maybe a skill shot or, something to get closer, some sort of gap closer. I'm thinking Nautilus, I'm thinking Lee Sin, I'm thinking all these different junglers that have some sort of way of gap closing using an ability. Body blocking that, it completely stops a gank. Lee Sin can't land his Q on the AD carry, that guy's free, and he's good to go.
Yeah, and if you trade kills and you're the one that dies, and on the other team you get their ADC or you get their jungler, you've got the advantage. Like, you came out ahead on that trade.
Yep.
All right.
Yeah, but just be careful of that also, because if someone's going to die no matter what, don't go sacrifice yourself just to act like you're a support. If they're going to die anyway, there are some situations where you need to back out and not try to save them. But you'll see it all the time. I do it all the time. I go in and die for no reason because I'm trying to save someone.
Yeah. I mean, like I agree, but at the same time, learning how to play this game, I'm going to have to disagree. Like, when you get to 30 and you're becoming better at the game and you know that you could probably, sometimes there's a toss-up and you have no idea. But if you think that you can save them, even with an ounce of thought you think you can save them, do it. Do it. Just, you'll learn. Even if you both die, you'll still learn, okay, maybe if I had done this better, I would have saved them. Even if you both lose, you're still learning something. So,
Oh, absolutely.
when you're learning this game, if you think that they're going to die, do everything in your possible, everything you can to try and save them. And learn how to do that. Even if it means both of you dying. Because right now, it doesn't really matter. You're not in ranked. You're not, it's not going to matter whether it matters whether you win or lose, but it matters more that you learn something from it. So take the death and take the experience. All right, so let's in primary goals, I want to toss in warding in there. We emphasize this every single episode, and I cannot emphasize it enough.
Wards.
Ward.
Wards.
And I said it again. We said it in that episode that it's not just the support's job to ward. It is.
And like we said, don't yell at your support if you die. Don't yell at your support if there's not everything warded. That is a team job. Yeah, they are primarily warding, but help them out.
Yeah. First and foremost, though, when you think of somebody that is supposed to ward, it definitely your support should be warding. And if they aren't warding, definitely, kind of hint towards it, be like, hey, buddy, can you, ward for us? We need some vision, but don't be a jerk about it. And if you're watching this and you're learning how to support, ward. Frickin' ward.
Yeah.
It's important.
Yeah, just ask them nicely. Just ping and say, hey, could you throw a ward in this bush?
Yeah.
It's easy as that.
And also tell your AD carry to use his totem, because I gotta say that's one of the most annoying things in the world is an AD carry that doesn't use his totem. Like, that's a free ward.
And if you are a support and you forgot to ward and someone tells you to, don't take it personally. Like,
Yeah.
I'm in Platinum, and there are times that I forget to throw a ward down, and someone says, hey, we need a ward on Baron, and I didn't realize that it went out, 15 seconds ago. Don't take it personally. Everyone does it. It's just someone reminding you so that you can, fulfill your role a little bit better.
Yeah. All right, so let's jump into, we talked really about the primary goals for supports and what they should be focused on almost always, protecting the AD carry, warding, earning lane control, making sure that the laning phase went well for the AD carry. So let's go ahead and talk about secondary goals, and this is more, when it comes to psychologically, and this is a lot of the mid and late game talks we're about to go into. So objective control is on the front of the list. Obviously, that's simple things like warding, but it can also be a lot more than that. Like, Dragon just got taken, whether you or the enemy team took it. Well, because you got the timer, and you should always try and pay attention to timers of major things like that, which we also talked about. You guys remember buffs are 5 minutes, Dragon is 6 minutes, Baron is 7 minutes. So if you see that Dragon goes down at 23:30, you should know, okay, 6 minutes on Drag, 29:30. Type that in. When it hits to 29, make sure you're telling your team, hey, Dragon at 30 seconds. Get ready for Dragon. We need to be there. Contest this objective. That sort of thing.
Yeah, that's a good point, because just because they've got the new jungle timers, don't just assume that everyone's going to be watching those. It's a good idea to call that out just in case someone forgets.
Yeah, and that's...
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Oh, I was going to say, or just call it out 30 seconds before it comes up.
Yeah.
Just say, hey, guys, Dragon's coming in 30, let's get ready for it.
And that kind of pushes us into communication as well. Sorry, checking something. Someone take over.
All right, I'll talk about a lot about communication. I know it's really a difficult thing to do. You have 5 people on your team, and everyone's under a lot of stress, and it's just difficult. And the problem with communication in a solo queue, or when you're playing in normals, is that to come across as judgmental or like you're criticizing someone. So the most important thing is to always gear everything towards a positive. So what you want to do is you can set yourself up in that communication role by kind of talking about things that have happened. Type good job or nice job when somebody gets a kill early. If someone dies, go, it's no big deal, or just try to like reassure everybody. Everyone's going to make mistakes, and when they do, they know they make mistakes. So you never want to criticize someone on them, because chances are they know it and they already feel bad about it.
Unless you're like me, and then you think you never make mistakes, and you blame everybody else.
Yeah, but I'm guessing that me telling you made a mistake isn't going to help either, right?
Yeah.
So just, but the most important thing with communication is to communicate the important things to your team. Call out Dragons and Baron. Tell somebody if they didn't notice their buffs up, be like, hey, blue's up, because nobody wants to let the buffs go by. And then you want to, if somebody blows Flash in the bot lane, like that's a really great opportunity to get a gank in there. Just be like, hey, Flash is down for 5 minutes on Lucian. And those are really good things to do. And if you gear all of your communication at first to just be factual, if you're not really sure on how to do everything positive, if you just make everything factual, then there's no way to misconstrue it. If let down, okay, a Mumu's ult is down, any of those important things. And then when you start going into your transitions and to your to moving to different objectives, you really want to communicate that with your team so that you're all on the same page. So if you push down bot tower and they're freezing it at their second tower, then just communicate. Be like, hey, let's knock down mid, and just tell that to your team, and then all of you'll end up getting like 3 or 4 people mid, and then you can just take mid tower.
Yeah, that's really, really good points. The whole factual thing, talking about what's going on in the game, like that I'm gonna take that to heart, because that is actually legit. That's a really good point. Talking about what's going on in the game can never ever hurt you. So.
Also pings, but don't overuse them.
Oh yeah, pings. Pings are actually it's one of the things that I love doing as supports. I too am a mini map watcher. I stare at the mini map, especially as a support. And if you see the jungler coming up in top lane, and he's got that ward down, the enemy jungler's going to gank top. Crap, throw down some pings up there, help that guy out. Same thing for.
Pings are so important,
yeah.
And they can't be really misinterpreted unless you're spamming them.
Right.
And they're just so helpful to your team. They build like a team, just teamwork in your team, because they know you're looking out for each other.
Yeah, feel grateful because I think Days has been playing as long as I have, but back in the day we had to type that crap because you're about to get ganked, sort of deal. So be thankful of those pings and definitely utilize them. They're really nice, like really nice.
I feel like that was essentially like my grandpa telling me how he walked uphill to school both ways in the snow.
Right. I actually only started at the end of the second season, so there's a lot of changes. But I do remember that because I think that was season 3 they implemented. So they are extremely helpful.
When that came out, it was the biggest quality of life. For those of you who aren't aware of what it is, if you hold down Control or Shift or any of the ping buttons, V, any of that, G, for example, and then you move it a specific way, it allows you to do a different ping. And it becomes second nature, almost a muscle memory, and it's amazing. It is literally one of the best things that League of Legends has implemented, just as a quality of life type deal, because you can do it. You can do it on the mini map. Like you don't even have to go to the mini map. You can literally click on the mini map and just ping. Get out of there. It's great. And that's another communication thing.
Also, to Adam's point, for God's sake, don't spam them. That is the most annoying thing in the world.
Yeah.
And also, people just stop paying attention to you. It's the cry wolf thing. Like, okay, this guy or girl won't stop pinging, so I'm going to ignore it. And then you get ganked and you die. So use them to the best of your ability, but don't spam them.
And fun fact, if you have somebody that is I like to call them a ping whore, they nonstop won't they keep pinging. A lot of people don't think that you can mute pings, but that's not true. You can mute pings. So say Singed in the top lane is just spamming you with pings. Just type in /ignore Singed, and you can't see his pings anymore. It's cool. It's awesome. Not mutes. Ignores. Only way that works.
Oh, I did not
I
know
didn't know
that.
that either.
Yeah,
I didn't
fun
know.
fact.
Because normally that's the one thing that gets through when you mute somebody is that
Yep.
they can still ping.
Yeah,
Which I guess is kind of a good and bad thing, because if they're still pinging but they're being an ass, then, I mean, the pings are still useful, but...
Yeah. Alright, so let's go ahead and talk about support positioning. We know we kind of talked about laning, but zoning, definitely we could talk about zoning, although it is a little bit of a more advanced concept. I understand that a lot of you may actually be 30 and you're watching these and you want to learn more about the role as a support. So we will go over zoning as a general principle as well.
All right. Well, I'll simplify it for everybody who's not 30 yet. The most important thing that you want to do is you always want to stay parallel to your AD carry. And the reason this is because you essentially have zoning circles. You have areas of control that you, these are sections that you're in control of, that you can hit an enemy with a skill or with an auto attack, and they'll be in your area of influence. Now, what happens is if you're perpendicular to if you're horizontal, whatever, to your AD carry, if you're right next to him, then what's going to happen, even if you're not right next to him, but if those circles overlap at all, then when somebody is in those circles, or when you can move quickly to get them in both of those circles, you can both affect that player. So you'll both be able to attack him. You, as an AD, as a support, are able to stun or to CC that person, your ADC will be easily able to follow up. A lot of times when I do a lot of mentoring and coaching, and one of the biggest problems I find is the positioning in the bottom lane. So the support, especially if you're a melee support, they'll be really, really close to the enemy, and your ADC will be back near your own caster creeps. And then you'll get just kind of battered down by them. And your ADC won't be able to follow up or do anything about it. Or you'll go all in, and then you'll get mad at your ADC who's way back and can't follow up on you because they weren't able to follow up on you. And I know because I felt that way a lot when I was leveling up. So that's something to worry about. If you're in the same kind of line, if you're straight across from your ADC, they'll be able to follow you up all the time. And the same thing with you. If you always want to be near them, because if they get engaged on, you'll immediately be able to follow up and protect them. And you do that mostly by attacking their other ADC and providing some sort of CC of your own to protect them. But that's why those circles are so important. And it kind of gives you a visual of where you need to stand at all times when you're laning.
Agree. Yeah. One of the most annoying thing I think I've ever had to deal with is playing a melee support, and I go in and see my AD carry is nowhere near me, and I instantly realize that I Zenith Blade onto the support that flashed. That's totally my fault. So, make sure that you're able to protect your AD carry, because if you're dead, you can't protect your AD carry.
True fact.
Right, especially when you're melee. Like, most of them have some sort of gap closer. So if you're not next to your AD carry, if you're way ahead of him and then you use that gap closer, there's no way that your ADC is getting to you.
Yeah. And then,
because you're way up.
Yeah, and that's completely 100% your fault. You can't even put that on the AD carry. Like, that was... They were doing fine, they were farming, and they were in position, and you just went way too deep, so...
Yeah,
Also,
that's
with
why I
regards-
can't play Leona.
I love Leona, though.
I can't play her. I have like a 17% win rate.
Oh
I
my
do that.
goodness.
I go up and I just go ham all the time, and then nobody can follow up. I do it with my duo, and even he can't follow
I
up
have a
on
67% win rate with Leona.
All ham, all the time.
me. She's a great champion, just not my playstyle.
I love Leona with a passion. But everybody already knows that.
Also, just quick with regards to positioning, it's easy to overlook, but don't forget those minion waves. You don't want to engage on someone when their entire wave is waiting there, because they will put a lot of damage on you.
Yeah, a surprising amount of damage.
Yes.
Even against Leona.
Yeah, against anyone. It's ridiculous the amount of damage that especially melee creeps can do early levels. You won't believe it. You'll just die, and you'll look in, like 60% of the damage will be from creeps. It's crazy. And you also want to use and utilize the bushes as much as possible, because it's going to do two things. They're either going to ward your bush, and especially like early levels when all they have is 2 trinkets. If they ward the bush, they're not warding the river, and that gives you a lot of control in terms of ganking. It's going to make them more nervous because they can't control the river and they have no idea if your jungler's coming. Or they're not going to ward the bush that you're in, and they're just you're going to get a lot of free poke off, especially if you're ranged. You poke your head out, auto, go back in the bush, and they can't see you anymore. And you do it fast enough that they won't be able to get any, you'll get free damage. They won't be able to trade you. Or if you're melee, like Leona, Blitzcrank, anyone, you'll be able to get a position really well to either hit that Zenith Blade or to get that grab. And they won't be able to position well as effectively against you because they won't know exactly where you are. So bush control is incredibly important.
Yeah, that's not to say though, just to be all whimsy with your totems. Like, if you're matched at lane and they're not, abusing the bush, there's no need for you to put a ward in your bush like that. Like,
oh yeah, when I meant bush control, I meant getting into the bush.
Yeah, it's just we talk a lot about control of a point by talking about putting wards there or having yourself in that specific area. And I just want to clarify to listeners that that doesn't mean just throw down your 120-second cooldown ward because you want to have vision of that bush. Like there's better places for that to be.
Yeah, absolutely. When I'm low, before I get my Sightstone, I usually only use my trinkets in the river ward because that's a lot more in the river bushes, because that's a lot more intimidating than your lane bush.
Mm-hmm. Definitely. All right, so phase transitions is really important for supports because this is when you begin to... It's called roaming, and I don't know if I've covered that yet, or if we've covered that yet. Long story short, quick synopsis of roaming is when you decide that you can impact another area of the map, and so you leave your lane to go to another area of the map to do said impact. And for supports, this can be a huge deal because nothing is more annoying than top lane Darius getting ganked by Leona, and you're just like, well, crap, I can't get out of that because Leona's coming up from her lane all the way. Roaming is huge, especially for supports, and I love doing it as supports. So phase transitions, yeah, they're really, really important for supports, almost more so than other lanes and other roles.
But probably, with regard to that, a good rule is, unless you are 100% sure your marksman is safe, don't leave him. Like, you may want to roam mid to help out there, but if you leave your marksman behind, especially early game, and they get jumped on by 2 people and die, that's bad news.
Yeah, and you guys might remember when we talked about phase transitions and what a phase transition is. Usually when we're talking about a transition in the bot lane, it's when a tower goes down. So if your tower goes down, that's usually you're going to be sitting back and trying to farm as best you can, because that usually means that you're behind and you want to catch up. Now, that's not to say just let them have that territory. You still got to have wards on Dragon. You still got to be able to counter any sort of engage on that objective, but you still, you need to come back from being at a deficit. And if you take the tower, that is also a transition from the laning phase into a mid phase or an objective phase, roaming.
My general rule of thumb that I personally use for it is that you should always, when you're laning, whenever your ADC goes back, you should go back.
Yeah.
With them. If you don't have to, like if you died and they push the wave into tower and it's going to be another 30 seconds before they get back to the lane, then and you're full health, then you can go mid and roam, but you always want to be in the lane with your ADC. If you lose a tower, then you have a couple choices. You definitely want to ward up. You want to ward the Try, you want to ward Drag, and you want to ward the far lane bush if you can, so that they don't get lane ganked. And then you have to really see where the other support is. If the other support went mid, then you need to follow and lend your support to mid. if the other AD carry and support are still pushing that bot lane, then you need to be there to support your ADC. And that's one of the more difficult problems with support, is that you really need to be able to make those decisions and make very knowledgeable decisions on where you need to be at what point in time, because it does change more than a lot of other roles do.
Yeah, it's going to be a tough concept to grasp, especially at early levels. This tossing you back and forth. What if this happens? What if this happens? What if this happens? So what we kind of want you to take from this is protect your AD carry, but also make sure that you're giving your abilities to people that need them. If your AD carry is just farming at his inner turret, there's no need for you there. If he's just sitting back there and there's no threat of a gank, then what are you doing there? There's no reason for you to sit there. Go help another lane. Go throw some wards down. Go protect Dragon. These are things that you can do as a support to help out not just your AD carry, but the entire team. So there are reasons between deciding to leave your AD carry, but as a general rule of thumb, try and be there when he needs you. When he needs you. So I guess we could real quick talk about team fighting, because I feel like that's pretty important. But it's a little bit of another one of those more complex things that you guys are going to encounter. I can't tell you how often I see ridiculous team fights when I play on my Smurf. They're just hilarious to watch. But team fighting is something that definitely comes with time and experience, but a support's job in a team fight.
You basically want to use, if you're a CC-based champ at least, you want to use as much CC as you can on the enemy damage dealers. Again, don't focus tanks just like you would on any other role. Of course, you want to try and peel for your ADC or your damage squishy characters in general, which can mean, like, if you're Leona using, a stun on something like a bruiser or something that's going after your damage dealers, but you want to be kind of ready to either peel or, if possible, try and stun or CC or something like that on the enemy damage dealers so that your team can focus them down as well.
Yeah.
Basically, a good rule of thumb is ignore tankier characters unless they're being a direct threat to your squishy characters.
Yeah. There's definitely two options going into a fight. I always come to Leona because she's just my go-to girl, and I love her. And Leona has a lot of different abilities that allow her to do a lot in a team fight. And when you're about to team fight, you have to make a decision. You either peel for your AD carry, or you make it your goal to get their enemy damage killed. For me, at least, that's what I do.
Yeah, I think it really depends on what your playstyle is and what type of supports. I know you guys both play like the tankier supports. I play very heavy damage mage-based supports. So I have, and I think Dom plays the tankier, like more support-ish supports. So it really depends on, you have to really understand what you're bringing to the table. So like I play a lot of Zyra, Annie, and Sona. So Adam mentioned, I definitely want to get my big CC off on as many people as possible, because that is the best way to protect your carry. But then I will change my entire focus onto my AD carry. So once I get as many people as I can stunned, then I'm going to be peeling for them, and I'm going to be doing damage to whoever's coming after them, even if it's a tankier person, because if you destroy their front line before they destroy your front line, you're going to win the fight. So you just want to, like, if you're playing a mage-based support or one of the higher damage-dealing ones, you really do want to shift your attention immediately back to your AD carry, unless your AD carry is really behind. If your AD carry is really behind and you have a really beefed-up AP carry, then they're the one you're going to want to be protecting. And if your team's just behind in general, and you can, and that happens sometimes, then the best option is to go and just annihilate their team as quickly as possible. So you really got to be aware of who the biggest threats on your team as
exactly, what's going on. It's really tough sometimes. Even level 30 playing this game for 4 years, and I still sometimes don't know what I'm supposed to do and when I'm supposed to do it. But just like we said before, if you don't know what to do, try and protect your AD carry. That can never hurt.
And
Yeah,
don't
it's
be
one of
afraid
those-
to make mistakes and learn from it.
Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah, it's one of those things where you really are experience is really the only thing. Like, there's so many factors that, like, what kind of support you are, if you're tanky or if you do a lot of damage, what your team comp is. You know, if you've got a couple tanks on your team and a couple who can engage, then it may not be on you. If you're Leona and everyone else does a lot of damage, then you're probably going to be the one who's going to start that team fight. And it's things you're only really going to learn through playing the game a lot and getting used to all these different comps and champions.
Yeah. So I think we covered a lot of our bases today, but I want to talk about why you guys play support, like you guys specific. It took me literally 2 seconds to think of 2 support mains that love their job, and I want to know why you guys play support and why you enjoy it. We'll start. Adam, you go first.
All right. Well, I mean, I kind of, like you guys were saying earlier, I always tend to find myself drawn towards the more healy, supporty roles. Like Battlefield, I'm usually the medic or the ammo giver or whatever, and WoW, I was a healer for many, many years. But I don't know, I really like the feeling of kind of bringing the team together and making stuff happen rather than being like the front child of, like, you know, the Akali who's going out and murdering everyone. It's more fun for me, at least, to be the person who's kind of not necessarily in the background, but just kind of behind, like, setting up everything for everything else. Like, it's a really great feeling when you're in bot lane and you can get, you know, like first blood or something like that because you played really well with your ADC, and then you set it up, and then they're able to finish it off. And I mean, that feels great. I mean, you don't get the kill, but you still get the assist, and you know that every kill you get that ADC is X% chance more that you're going to win the whole game. So that's me.
Days?
I actually started out as an ADC main. I refused when I was leveling to play support because all I heard from everyone was that only girls are allowed to play support. I was like, no, I'm not doing it. So I refused to play it for a long time, and I ended up, I was an ADC main, and I got really tired of seeing plays that could have been made or not having a reliable support. I know that's a frustration, and in leveling up to 30, and then if you start out in like the low elos like I did, I started in bronze 4, nobody's going to want to play support. So nobody wants to play it, and then when someone gets stuck in it, they're all upset about it. So I just started playing it, and I ended up being pretty good at it. I have a really good sense of the macro game. I'm actually decent mechanically. I do like the micro. I did a lot of like StarCraft 2 I was really good at, so I like the micro aspect of it, but in terms of my game sense, I found that that's really one of my strengths, and I'm really good at communicating. So I like being able to influence the team. I like telling people what to do and them doing it. It's nice to see. But it gives you a very rewarding kind of atmosphere, and you feel really good, even if you're not recognized. But as I promise, if you're 30, if you're leveling up and you feel unappreciated as a support, the higher up you get, the more appreciated you're going to be, and the more people are going to recognize you for what you do. I promise. There is a silver lining to everything. But you leave a game knowing I made this play and it won us the game, or I made this call. Like if we didn't take that tower, or they pushed our inhib, they got our inhib, but I made the call to go do Baron. And you make these calls and they win games. It's very, very rewarding, especially. You see, you can tell when you're communicating well because you'll see overall less raging in your games. You'll see less people quitting, rage quitting, and it's just a really good feeling to do. So it's just, and I like making plays. I know everybody makes plays in the games, and everybody has specific roles, but when you have that amount of CC, and you can make a 5-person Annie stun, or you can get that Leona ult over a wall, or you can make that clutch heal as Sona or Nami. Like those are just like clutch plays that like make you feel really good about yourself, and those are things that like as you get higher up, people will recognize and really call you out on.
Yeah, some of the most exciting moments in watching games are seeing those thresh hooks.
Oh my goodness! Oh, the
Yeah.
Thresh Lanterns? Are you kidding me?
Oh,
Yeah.
so good.
Amazing.
Hmm.
I remember back old Karma. You were around for it. She had a heal on her Q or
Yeah.
Inner Flame. I used to play a lot of Karma. She was I loved her. Before Leona came out, I really enjoyed Karma. They ended up getting rid of the heal on her Q, but it was always really fun because you would get that heal down and it was such a big heal, like so much bigger than people would ever notice, and I would always be like, saved your life every single time. I say, and that's just, it's so rewarding. Like, it just feels so good knowing you're like, yep, I'm the reason you're alive. You owe me. You owe me.
Dom recently inspired me to start playing Nami, and I started trying it, and it's a big learning curve for me because I don't play the really supporting champions.
Yeah.
And so it was terrible the first few times I played her because it was just not working for me at all. But I started, like, he gave me some advice, and I started altering my playstyle a little bit and kind of depending more on my AD carry to make those plays, and I would make the good bubbles and, get the Eon at the right time and that sort of thing. But it's really rewarding. She has such a good heal, and there's nothing more rewarding than someone who's about to die and you Nami heal them, and then in all chat it's, what the fuck, Nami's so OP. And
Damn
then
it, Nami.
Exactly,
Yeah.
Like there's nothing more rewarding than that.
Yeah, it's pretty good.
So would you say, with regards to your Nami play, the tides have changed?
Declad, what are you doing?
Yes!
God damn it, Declad.
I did it!
Oh, damn it.
That was for you, Claude.
Oh my goodness. He's probably gonna notice it later and be like, Snaggle, shout out to you, you the best, blah blah blah. Calling it right now.
I feel so dirty.
Hashtag God damn it, Declad. Alright, so
I'm not happy with myself right now.
we gotta bring this up to wraps because we do have T-Force proper starting in about 10 to 15 minutes. So let's go ahead and say our recommended supports. I'm saying Leona because I love her and she's my girl.
As a general overall suggestion, just really quick, because we did make a little list of recommended supports, which were Leona, Thresh, Braum, Nami, Sona, Janna, and Morgana. As a starter, I would probably recommend Leona, probably Sona, and Braum as your best options for ones where you can kind of get used to the role, but like they're not super complex. Like Morgana can be kind of tough, just based on her mechanics. Thresh is probably the most difficult out of all of those. You can get an idea for hooks and that sort of thing, but he has a lot of other utility that can really dictate movement around the map, and you can make ridiculous plays with the Lantern, but it takes a little while to learn. So I would probably recommend, if you're more into the melee-based champs, I would definitely go with Leona. She's my general pick as far as solo queue because
She's the best.
Yeah, she has just so much CC that even if your ADC has his pants on his head, you can still usually get him to kill. It's like, okay, I eat him, we're in W procs, okay, we've got Q, and then we've got R. It's like if you can lock them down, they're not going to get away, and you can help get your ADC ahead really easily. Sona's more movement-based, but again, she has a lot of utility, and she's not terribly complicated to play, so those I would say would be my top two for learning to play support.
Days,
play style.
Days, I want to ask you about
yeah.
Sona's changes after we're done because I'm curious.
Okay.
But
All right. Well, as for my recommended supports, I would go with Sona. As far as range supports, I would go with Sona. She's really, really good. She's a lane bully in the bot lane if you play her correctly. She just destroys lanes. She's very squishy, so you have to play a lot of her. If you go into one game and you try to be aggressive, then you're going to die a lot, and you're going to be like, why did Days tell me to play this champ? Play a lot of her, and play her really aggressive, because you're going to learn what your limits are on her. You're going to die a lot, and don't be afraid to die a lot, because that's your best way to learn the limits of any champion. No matter who we tell you to play, go die a lot. And then mute everybody, because they're going to call you feeders, so just ignore them. So, but Sona's actually really good. She controls lanes really well, and her level 6 CC is just incredible and game-changing. I've turned a lot of games around with that. And Annie, the same thing.
Yeah.
I carried out of bronze and silver with Sona and Annie exclusively, just those two champions, and they were both very good. Annie, she's great. She has a lot of CC. She has a lot of damage, so you can really turn the tides. And then as you get hot, as you get more items, you just blow up people. I've 1v1 to 80 carries mid-game, and they just delete off the screen, and then nobody knows what to do because they don't know whether to focus you or the ADC, and people just freak out.
Yeah.
As far as sorry, I saw what Adam typed. As far as melees, I would definitely go with Leona. Although I personally don't play her well, she has amazing CC, and I think the most important thing for me, carrying out of a lower elo or when you're learning to play, is having a great initiation, and all three of the people that I mentioned do have that. And one of the biggest problems in lower levels or in lower elos is that people don't know how to initiate correctly. So if you learn that skill, it's really going to help you a lot. So those are my three. I know I think Adam played a lot of Annie too. I think that's how he got plat last season, was with Annie support.
Yeah, Ponophobia, host of the Trinity Force proper, and our boss guy. Yeah, he loves Annie. I love Annie. I love Annie. You all know that too. People watching this, you know I love Annie, and you know I love Leona. But yeah, Annie's awesome. I'm actually, next year at Fanime, I'm going to be Tibbers for my friend, so.
What? Why am I just finding this out now?
I'm so excited.
Have you
It's
seen?
amazing.
Have you seen my man? Let's count to 5.
All right, we have 5 minutes. Sorry.
Yeah, okay. So, thank you guys for joining us. Of course, we really appreciate it. Days and Oddlawngnome, I really appreciate you guys coming on and talking with us.
Yeah, thanks a lot, guys. That was awesome.
Thanks for having us.
Yeah. Real quick, you can always follow us on Twitter, Doc_Chicken,
Doc Chicken!
Asterition, Days Untold. We're all on Twitter. Oddlawngnome doesn't know what he's doing with his
I don't have
life,
Twitter, so
he
yeah.
doesn't have Twitter. So yeah, follow us on Twitter. I don't post anything, but they do. So follow them, because they're great. I don't do
Tweet.
anything. Yeah.
Tweet Asderition and tell him to start using Twitter.
I don't. No.
Cause I'm getting sick of this, man.
You can always email us at battlearena@treeforcepodcast.com. Add us on Client Game. I'm Asderition. He's Snagglewolf. Days Untold.
Snagglewolf.
Oddlawngnome. We're all. It's friggin' easy to get a hold of us if you have any questions. Just you ask, because we're always here, and this is our life. And don't forget to check out www.
That's too many W's.
That's too many W's at treeforcepodcast.com, because you know that's a really good place too. Stay tuned for like 5 more minutes, because T-Force proper is gonna go on, and
next week top lane.
oh yeah, we're talking about top lane, and Adam Ponophobia Cogswell is gonna be joining us. I actually convinced him to come on. It took a lot. I had to like dangle cookies in front of him, but it was enough.
He's just gonna yell at us.
He's probably gonna yell at us and tell me I'm bad. So if you want to hear him tell me how bad I am, come watch next week, because he's going to say a lot of it.
Yep.
Any closing words, guys?
Stand behind Braum.
Stand behind Brum.
And click the lantern.
Yeah, don't forget to click.
Always click the lantern.
Yeah, well, I mean, don't always. Like, if Nidalee's about to die, definitely click the lantern then.
That's the best time to click the lantern.
Because no one actually. Anything else, guys?
Final words. Riot, if you nerf Ziggs again, I'm coming for you. Just be warned. You're on notice, Riot. Don't you touch him again.
And before they nerf him into the ground. Okay, guys, that's it for today. Take it easy, y'all.
Bye.
Bye.